Okay. My name is Mariama Smith-Gray, and I am an associate professor at CSU East Bay, and I teach in the Department of Educational Leadership. You, you asked me about the work that I do. So I am the PI of the Great Migration Study, which is a study that examines the educational experiences of African American children who migrated or were the children of great migrants to Northern California during between 1910 and 1970. So I capture their educational experiences, their migration journeys, and really look at the racial, spatial, and try to understand it from their perspective. I'm particularly interested in the rules that govern space, and from using a racial lens. So I often talk about the white spatial imaginary, and I talk about the ways that space is racialized and how Black children at that time resisted, knew what the rules were, but also resisted the rules of space. So in my study, what I found is that, so it's a mixed method study that has interviews and surveys and artifacts. It's an archive. And so I'm talking about this later today at AAA, but what I found is that most of the migrants in my study were born in California. So they're not from the South. Their parents are from the South, and they moved and had children here during the Great Migration. And those who were born in the South, there's a common narrative about them being born in particular states that followed the train routes. And while that is true, some of them did come from Texas, Louisiana, and fewer came from Arkansas than expected. There is just such a diversity of southern states they migrated from, and likely because of the military's influence on the Great Migration in Northern California. And I am not a traditionally trained anthropologist. In fact, I'm trained as a Latin Americanist, as a historian. And I came to anthropology in graduate school in my PhD program. And I apprenticed under an anthropologist who was a Pacific anthropologist who brought me to AAA, taught me anthropological methods, particularly participant observation, ethnographic field note writing, interviewing, kind of hanging in communities, really taught me how to be and do work with, for and in community with my participants. And so that's how I come to anthropology. Sometimes I have felt like an imposter, but I appreciate the Council on Anthropology and Education for helping those of us who are cultural anthropologists of education find space in this anthropological field.